There are a ton of really incredible places in Middle-earth. Lothlorien is supposed to be the fairest realm of the elves in Middle-earth, and is a place where time just seems to disappear. The stunning beauty of Minas Tirith and the White Tower of Ithilien.
Have you ever seen it, Aragorn? White Tower of Ithilien, glimmering like a spike of pearl and silver. Its banners caught high in a morning breeze. Have you ever been called home?
I mean, just that alone makes me want to go there. Then you have places like Rivendell, Moria, which may have once been the most beautiful place ever created in Middle-earth, except Gimli would probably disagree, and he would argue that the caves behind Helm's Deep are the best, to be honest. But you have, of course, one of the greatest, which is the Shire. What better place in the entire realm of Middle-earth than that little Eden? A place where time just doesn't stop, it doesn't matter. Where the green earth is lush and things that grow are happy and bountiful. It's a place where the whole culture is one where you don't wear shoes. What better place is there in the entire Middle-earth than the Shire, even our normal earth here? Well, I've been reading through Lord of the Rings for the first time in my life, and I think I may have found a new favorite place. And this is also a plug to subscribe if you want more of my takes and my essays on my first time read through. You can also just, check out the channel. You can become a member for some members only content and some early access to videos as well. And I do have some merch. I just made some merch. Go check it out in the link in the description below. But this new favorite place of mine is the Garden of Gondor, Ithilien. It is stunning the way that Tolkien describes it, because he describes it with such hope and yet such despair, such regret and such rejuvenation. It is such a good little bit of writing from Tolkien. And I just want to read for you the description of it because there's a few different things in this that I want to talk about with how well Tolkien writes and what he's really putting into this message. And it took me a really long time, which is like a few days, to try to figure out why I like this place so much. And I want to talk about it after I read this chunk of writing from Tolkien. It's about a page, and my commentary is going to be interspersed in between. I'll put a little marker if you want to skip that and get to what I think about this place. But this is what the book says. So they passed into the northern marches of that land that men once called Ithilien, a fair country of climbing woods and swift falling streams. Now, first off, that's important that it was once called this. A certain place that has an ancient and natural feel to it. The night became fine under stars and round moon, and it seemed to the hobbits that the fragrance of the air grew as they went westward. And from the blowing and muttering of Gollum, it seemed that he noticed it too, and did not relish it. At the first sign of day, they halted again. They had come to the end of a long cutting, deep and sheer-sided, in the middle, by which the road clove away through a stony ridge. Now they climbed up the westward bank and looked abroad. Day was opening in the sky, and they saw that the mountains were now much further off, receding eastward in a long curve that was lost in the distance. Before them, as they turned west, gentle slopes ran down into dim hazes far below. All about them were small woods of resinous trees, fir and cedar and cypress, and other kinds unknown in the Shire, with wide glades among them. And everywhere there was a wealth of sweet-smelling herbs and shrubs. Just the smell of this place is incredible, and he describes that later on too, which is so intoxicating. The long journey from Rivendell had brought them far south of their own land. But not until now, in this more sheltered region, had the hobbits felt the change of clime. Here, spring was already busy about them. Fronds pierced moss and mold. Larches were green-fingered. Small flowers were opening in the turf. Birds were singing. Ithilien, the Garden of Gondor, now desolate, kept still a disheveled dryad loveliness. Now, this, I believe, is one of the most important sentences for Tolkien's idea, and I will return to this one at the end. South and west it looked, toward the warm lower vales of Anduin, shielded from the east by the Ethel Duath, and yet not under the mountain shadow, protected from the north by Emyn Muil, open to the southern airs and the moist winds from the sea far away. Many great trees grew there, planted long ago, falling into untended age amid a riot of careless descendants. And thick groves and thickets there were of tamarisk and pungent terebinth, of olive and of bay. And there were junipers and myrtles and thymes that grew in the bushes, or with their woody creeping stems mantled in deep tapestries, the hidden stones. Sages of many kinds putting forth blue flowers, or red, or pale green, and marjorams, and new sprouting parsleys, and many herbs of forms and scents beyond the garden lore of Sam. Even Sam, the gardening master, is blown away by the amount of scents in this place. The grots and rocky walls were already starred with saxifrages and stone crops. Primrose and anemones were awake in the filbert brakes, and asphodel and many lily flowers nodded their half-open heads in the grass. Deep green grass, beside the pools, where falling streams halted in cool hollows on their journey down to the Anduin. The travelers turned their backs on the road and went downhill. As they walked, brushing their way through brush and herbs, sweet odors rose about them. Gollum coughed and retched, but the hobbits breathed deeply. And suddenly, Sam laughed for heart's ease, not for jest, which is one of my favorite lines in this whole chapter too. The idea that you were entering into a place that causes you such lightness of heart that you end up laughing for ease and not for jest. I think we've all felt this before, but like the absolute bubbling up of joy when you enter into a place. But I just love Tolkien's description here for the things that Sam is feeling. Anyway, the book keeps going. They followed a stream that went quickly down before them. Presently, it brought them to a small clear lake in a shallow dell. It lay in the broken ruins of an ancient stone basin, the carven rim of which was almost wholly covered with mosses and rose brambles. Iris swords stood in ranks about it, and water lily leaves floated on its dark, gently rippling surface. But it was deep and fresh, and spilled ever softly out over the stony lip at the far end. Here they washed themselves and drank their fill at the infalling freshet. Then they sought for a resting place and a hiding place, for this land, fair seeming still, was nonetheless now territory of the enemy. They had not come very far from the road, and yet even in so short a space they had seen scars of the old wars, and the newer wounds made by the orcs and other foul servants of the Dark Lord. A pit of uncovered filth and refuse, trees hewn down wantonly and left to die, with evil ruins or the fell signs of the eye cut in rude strokes on their bark. Sam scrambling below the outfall of the lake, smelling and touching the unfamiliar plants and trees, forgetful of the moment of Mordor, was reminded suddenly of their ever-present peril. He stumbled on a ring, still scorched by fire, and in the midst of it he found a pile of charred and broken bones and skulls. The swift growth of the wild, with briar and eglantine, and trailing clematis, was already drawing a veil over this place of dreadful feast and slaughter. But it was not ancient. He hurried back to his companions, but he said nothing. The bones were best left in peace, and not pawed and routed by Gollum. "Let's find a place to lie up in," he said. "Not lower down, higher up for me." Now, I've thought for a few days about why I love this place so much, and I think I've kind of come up with it. Ithilien is a physical reminder that evil will pass. Even though this place is essentially the next dish on the menu for Sauron, Like, this place really feels like in the ever expansiveness of Mordor and the machine of war and industry of war, and in the realm of Sauron, Ithilien is right on the doorstep of the Morannon, and likely the first place to be burned and destroyed in the time of Sauron if he were to regain power. Already there are orcs that are coming in and vandalizing the place, and knocking down trees and carving the Eye of Sauron into the bark. But this last little description of these bones, and how already there is a veil of green overtaking them, it's just a reminder that while this is a place of danger and ruin and speaks really of the fall of the Númenóreans and of the kingdom of Gondor, like, I don't really know the full extent of Gondor's civilization, so I might be kind of wrong on some of this, because it's, my first time reading. So correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but if this place used to be the Garden of Gondor, and now it's fallen into ruin like this, it almost seems like this place is slowly becoming beautiful again. Even in the midst of pressing evil. It's untamed and it's unruly, but it's still naturally beautiful. And it's a reminder for the reader that in the midst of all these terrible things that are happening, that things will be okay. I feel so relieved for Frodo and Sam here too, because this place in the story itself serves as that. It's a respite for Sam and Frodo, having gone through the marshes, which were terrible, and having gone through Emyn Muil, which is also terrible. Now they have a chance to recover in this ruinous place that is a garden that is just all over the place. A place that itself is currently in recovery and currently in turmoil. That line I love. Here spring was already busy about them. Fronds pierced moss and mold. Larches were green-fingered. Small flowers were opening in the turf. Birds were singing. Ithilien, the garden of Gondor, now desolate, kept a disheveled, dryad loveliness. This shows that the spring is slowly creeping into this place. And while there is still a lot of ruin here and winter is still clinging on, it is becoming greener by the day. Earlier this week, in another essay, I talked about how Tolkien, before this chapter, as Sam and Frodo are at the Black Gate, seems to really take away our hope. Because Sam, when looking at the Black Gate, talks about how he has no need for hope anymore. He just needed to keep despair delayed. And he's come to facts that he will die on this journey. Because he's not looking for a return journey. And he just keeps reminiscing about his father, wishing he had one more look at him. And I am just frustrated at Tolkien because he is just too darn brilliant. I lost hope in that moment. Even though I know the movie's end, and I kind of feel like I know generally the ending of this story. I know that they're going to be okay. And Ithilien, this is a reminder that you should never lose hope. Even if you are on the edge of failure and doom, even though in the previous chapter, Tolkien gave us a crushing little blow of hope that Frodo and Sam might not make it on this journey. Never lose hope, because there are places like Ithilien that are imbued with hope. Even if you are on the edge of failure and doom, even if there is no chance you will ever make it through something, even if all hope seems to be lost,
There is always hope.
And Ithilien is that reminder for me. I think Tolkien really did imbue this place with hope. This description of Sam finding the bones is vital too. It says, he stumbled on a ring, still scorched by fire. And in the midst of it, he found a pile of charred and broken bones and skulls. The swift growth of the wild, with briar and elegantine and trailing clematis, was already drawing a veil over this place of dreadful feast and slaughter. But it was not ancient. There is evil that happens in Middle-earth, even in the most beautiful of places. But it seems as if nature itself even fights back and reclaims what is hers. And I think this is the environmentalism that Tolkien seems to really be hammering home as he's writing. That these places may seem to be falling deeper and deeper into evil. But nature always wins. So we shouldn't fight against it, as Sauron seems to be doing. We should live in harmony with it. And elves are doing it, as dwarves are doing it, and accentuating the beauty of it. as hobbits do this, and here in Ithilien, as men do as well. It's a reminder for us to leave no trace, as the hiking community says all the time. But it's also a reminder that if we do leave a trace, nature will slowly make sure that that trace is gone eventually. It might not happen overnight, it might take centuries, but slowly things will return to balance and beauty, even if it's a disheveled dryad loveliness. And so this place called Ithilien, this place that is a living reminder to never lose hope, I think is my favorite place in all of Middle-earth. But I am very curious what your favorite place in all of Middle-earth is. I know there's some people who love certain things in the Silmarillion, which I'm going to get to eventually. I know there's so many other incredible places. So let me know in the comments below what your favorite place in all of Middle-earth is. Is there anybody else who agrees with me that Ithilien is their favorite place? Because I think right now, other than maybe the Shire, Ithilien is the place that I would want to live. But let me know in the comments below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.